Hello, everyone. Well, the hunt is finally over. After a couple months of searching, I have finally found a two-speed rainbow. This is the E2 Gold model, and yeah, I've been looking for one of these for a while, but rainbows are notoriously expensive. But after I got my other rainbow, which I got really cheap at a flea market, I ended up actually liking it a lot more than I thought I would. And since then, I've wanted a model that had a couple things. I wanted a model with a two-speed motor, so you can get the air purifier function, which I just want to try, and a model with a Hepa filter. So finally, just hunting around online, finally met up with a woman today who sold me this Rainbow E2 Gold. And I don't know too much about this machine, and actually, I haven't cleaned this up yet. I just wanted to show this off before I did anything to it. But I believe this is their first model that had a brushless motor, like kind of like a digital motor, which now, Dyson has kind of made those their claim to fame recently. And I think this Rainbow vacuum is actually one of the first high-end vacuums that had a brushless DC motor. So it seems pretty neat. And this is kind of like an upgrade from the one that I currently have, because the one I have isn't two speeds. It uses a single speed motor. I think this one has more suction, better filtration, and just a couple more like quality of life features. So, like I said, I haven't cleaned this up yet, and I've been really excited to take a look at it. And so what I'm going to do, I figured I would show off a couple things on it now before I go through and give the thing a complete tune-up and then really test it. So let's take a look here. Okay, so this is the unit itself, and I don't know how hard this is to see. Trying to get this in shot. As you can see, it's kind of dusty, but this is the key thing. It's two speeds. You can see what speed they primarily use because that's got a little worn away. And it was funny because the woman, she said that she really liked the machine, but she had a huge, beautiful house. And she was like, you can imagine me lugging this thing up and down stairs and all over. And I understood. So, her grievances with it were kind of what I thought I would have with rainbows in general, just that they were just a whole lot of vacuum to deal with and a lot of setup and then clean up afterwards. But surprisingly, my other rainbow, I ended up liking it a lot more than I thought I would. So let's take a look here. Okay, so this is, the Rainbow E2 Gold. It's nice and dusty. I've got my both hoses here. Both hoses appear to be in good shape, which is very good. And here's our power head. Nice and dusty. So my plan is to change the belt on this. Let's take a look at the brush. I haven't looked at this at all yet. So, okay, so I can tell it needs a belt. And the brushes, they're probably okay. We'll see. Maybe I'll get a new brush roll for it. We'll see how it works. See if this is. Ooh, and be careful. Yep, as you can see. Dirt likes to get caught in certain areas on these power nozzles. I remember this from back in fixing vacuums back in the day. Let's pop this up. That's how you get to the belt in there. Weirdly enough, on a power nozzle, the belt is in the center, almost like an old, I don't know, Hoover convertible or old Eureka upright, except the belt isn't, it's not twisted around. But it is kind of odd to have it in the center on a canister. Usually they would be off to one side. But cool. So you got four wheels. They're plastic, but they seem to turn nice and smooth still, which is good. And these generally actually seem to last a long time. So, we turned it on while I was there, and all of this, obviously, I'll take all this apart and clean it to the best of my abilities. I'll put a new belt on it. So let's take this off. You got a clip here, and another one right here. The whole unit then. It lifts off after I push this button on the bottom. Let's do that. Sorry, guys. As always, my my amazing camera work. There's the bin. She mentioned that the bin does have a small crack in it on the side, and she claimed it didn't leak. So we will put that to the test. If I have to replace the bin, so be it. As you can see, the dolly or the caddy has nice paint scuffs and stuff. But what I found with my other rainbow was these actually roll pretty easy. And the hoses on them are nice and long. And you can leave the sweeper in one part of the room and kind of cover a lot of area before you really need to tug the vacuum around. So I was pleasantly surprised by that, because one of my grievances with a lot of canisters is that every time you pull the power nozzle around, you're pulling the vacuum with you, and it's obnoxious. If you can leave the sweeper in one part of the room, cover a lot of area, and then move it to another part, that's much more convenient in my opinion. So here's our separator. Separator looks nice and clean, but obviously that's going to need to be cleaned out. And I know this can be removed and washed. She actually said that, she went out of her way to tell me that it could be soaked. Let's see if I can get the HEPA filter off on this before moving on. The cord on this might be a little longer than the older ones. I don't know. And let's see if I can get to this. But I'm going to go ahead and give this thing a full tune-up. I have a belt for it. Hopefully the HEPA filter is in good shape. That's the only other major part that I hope to have to replace. It came with everything. It didn't come with a motorized hand tool. I don't know if this model was even available with one. But here's all the other attachments. You got your caddy that stores on the machine. What appears to be a good multi-purpose upholstery tool, nice and filthy. I get a lot of used vacuum cleaners that are in this state, so no big deal. Looks like another quality dust or floor brush, just like on my other rainbow. And with this one, because it has more suction, this might do a really, really good job on bare floors. So, let's see how this comes together. I'm pretty excited about this. I didn't pay too much for it, but rainbows aren't the cheapest, that's for sure. So it was not cheap necessarily for a used vacuum, but definitely a bargain for what it is. So stay tuned. All right, I got the HEPA filter off, and as you can see, the HEPA filter, I think I'm going to replace it. They claim you can rinse with water only. That's kind of surprising, because that just feels like a straight paper HEPA filter. So it doesn't really feel like it's washable to me. Probably going to buy a new one. The importance of the HEPA filter comes into play here. You can see, even though, the water traps the majority of the dirt, that's where the HEPA filter is hooked up, and you can see a lot of dirt there at the exhaust. So all of that got pulled through the motor and got blown, and was going to get blown through the filter. So that's why I'm happy to have this model with a HEPA filter. And I think I'll be happy with it. So what I have now, I have this Miele Canister. I actually use this primarily for cleaning up other vacuums. It's really nice and quiet. It's got good suction. I got this, I think, for $30 on Craigslist too. So again, don't be afraid to hunt for a bargain. I had to clean it up though. It stunk when I got it, but it's fine now. The brushes are pretty soft, so I'll probably replace those. Going to replace the HEPA filter and the belt. We're probably looking at about maybe $30 or so in additional parts. And then I think she'll be back in business. So, but I'm going to get started. First, I'm going to vacuum this off. Then I'm going to take apart what I can and wash it to the best of my abilities, put it all back together. And I think she'll be ready for some tests. So, stay tuned. Before I totally clean this all out, I thought I'd give you another look at, this can happen on power heads. Dust will build up where it shouldn't. If they don't have the best seals, or if they vibrate the dirt out of the carpet into areas where they shouldn't get. You can see that's nice and dusty too. But I've already vacuumed off a lot of this stuff, and I'm building up a pile of parts that are going to get washed. And then we'll go from there. Cleaned out the brush roll. I think with the brush stiffeners on the back, it has these little bars. These brushes are really soft, but with the bars, I think it'll be fine. So we'll see how it cleans, and I'll replace it if needed. All right, stay tuned. All right, here's another update on the rainbow. So I've had the machine now for about 2 weeks, and I've been busy, and it's been sitting a little bit. But I cleaned it all up, and to the to the best of my abilities. But I am finding I'm gonna have to go a step further. Although it looks nice now, and as far as parts I've had to replace, I did end up replacing the water tank, which is a brand new, genuine one. The one that they had with it, that it came with, was a generic replacement, and it did leak. So I replaced that, and I also replaced the HEPA filter on it, which was a cheap generic one. But I've got two issues still. One, the machine sounds a little rough. These vacuums are loud. They're not quiet at all, and they don't make the prettiest sound. But once the lower bearing starts to dry out on it and lose its grease, they start to sound pretty rough. And unfortunately, that's what I'm dealing with. Along with that area with the motor fans is caked in dust, realistically from poor care from the previous owner, and it has a pet odor to it. It smells like dog. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this on. You can hear it. So though I'm sure it would be fine for use, it's a kind of an ugly sound, and I want to get it sounding the best that I can. I know I can't make this thing extremely quiet or quieter like the new ones, but I can at least make it sound better, and I can certainly make it not stink when it's in use. So I've got some work to do. There's a gentleman on YouTube. His channel, he goes by the name of Vac Lab, and he's got great content. And he did a full teardown of the same machine and repacked the bearing. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tear this all apart, wash it all out, the motor fans and the fan housing, and I'm going to either replace or repack the lower bearing and see if that makes a difference. And then after that, I can finally be ready to do some tests. All right, well, where's the motor? It's up here. Here it is, all disassembled. And I laid out all the parts in order so that I had an idea of how to put it back together in order with everything facing upright. And as you can see, the fan housing, the fan blades themselves, even the bolts that hold on the motor housing, caked in dust. Those are badly rusted, and this would be the cause of the smell. Actually, having this all apart, this smells like a mixture of an old aquarium and dog. So it's pretty bad. But I'm gonna clean this all up, and that'll take care of that. This is the source right here. Clean all this up, part of the motor here, and then the other half, and then kind of a neat motor. This is your lower bearing, and this is what I'm going to take apart and re-grease. I'll replace it if I have to. We'll see. The top bearing, though, I'm going to clean it, and I don't know, maybe I'll put some grease on there. I have no idea, but it spins nice and free. This one on the bottom, it's not like seized up, but it's tight. So there you go. It's an interesting motor. It's different. This is one of the first digital motors in a high-end vacuum. So it's neat to see how the difference is between that and a regular one. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up and continue. The Rainbow is now nearly finished. I did rebuild the motor. I took it all apart, washed all the parts on it, and repacked that lower bearing. And yeah, let's hear it. See if it made a difference. Sounds a lot better. It sounds like it should now. And it also, the main unit doesn't vibrate as much anymore. So yeah, I'm happy with the result. It was definitely worth doing. And it doesn't stink anymore, so that's great. All right, stay tuned. Well, the Rainbow is essentially finished. And what I ended up replacing the water basin, the Hepa filter, the belt, and the brush roll. Along with that, I had to completely disassemble, wash all the motor parts, and repack the lower bearing on the motor. So now it's running just like it should. It runs perfect. I want to go a step further, though, and as a last-ditch effort to attempt to make the machine just a little bit quieter, I bought these things. I don't know what the real name is for them, but it says Acoustic Dampeners. Now, what these are foam inserts that they use on the newer Rainbows to help quiet them down. And they fit this model, but Rainbow doesn't recommend it. Well, I know somebody who knows Rainbows very, very, very well, and they installed this in the same model to make theirs a little quieter, and they haven't had any issues with it. So I decided I'm going to do it. So yeah, I'm going to go above and beyond and try to make this thing even just a little bit better, and that way it'll just be a little bit more pleasurable to use. I'm going to do the best I can. So after I get these installed, we'll see how that works, and then finally do some tests. The Rainbow is finally complete, and what a journey it's been. So I did end up installing those acoustic dampeners, the noise suppressors. It's just big chunks of foam that go around the motor underneath the dome. And I did test it out. It did make it a little bit quieter. So along with rebuilding the motor, adding those, this is as quiet as it's going to get. Along with that, I replaced the brush roll, I replaced the Hepa filter, the belt. I did buy one of those mini Rainbow mates. We'll try that out. and I had to replace the water basin too because it leaked. So this ended up actually being quite a project and a little bit more of an investment than I had initially thought, but I'm really happy with the results. The machine cleans well, and as you can see with that basin, well, I don't know if you can tell, but I did, there's some water in there, so it's ready to go. And now I'm gonna make a mess and try it out in various parts of my home. All right, stay tuned. Next up, I'm going to try the Rainbow Mate. This is an optional motorized floor or hand tool that you can use, which is great for like stairs, cleaning floor mats, cleaning out a car, and cleaning off furniture. When I bought this vacuum, I asked the woman if she happened to have this, and she commented that for what she paid for it, she should have it, but she didn't. So I bought this extra. I got this on eBay really cheap, so at least the accessories for these are reasonable. So, all right, let's continue. The Rainbow is now set up to clean bare floors. I have the non-electric hose hooked up and the bare floor brush. This one has a lot more suction than my other model Rainbow, the D4C SE, I believe it is. So I think it'll do an even better job. This bare floor brush is pretty narrow, so let's see how it does. This is a lot of heavy particles and some glitter, which I'm sure I'm going to deeply regret in the coming month or two. So here we go. Okay, I'm all finished testing the Rainbow, and as you can see, I put down a lot of glitter. So like I said, I'm probably going to really regret this over the next couple months, but it did a great job. And let's see here, let me pull this out. But the water itself is filthy, and I put down some coffee too, but it did get quite a bit of dirt along the way. When I first finished rebuilding this a few days ago, I ran this through my home, and I was genuinely surprised by how much dirt it had picked up. So the performance of this is great. That power head really vibrates the carpet and it picks up really well. And this one's got more suction than the older model Rainbows, so it's got more oomph behind it. And yeah, it really seems to work well. Along with that, you get a lot of great tools and everything. So I'm impressed. Here's the separator after the cleaning, and as you can see, it stayed perfectly clean. Both gaskets, the hose inlet and the gasket around the separator did have some glitter on it, but overall not too bad. Rainbow does recommend that you check and clean this after each use as necessary, so keep up on it and you'll be fine. So there you have it. This is the Rainbow E2 Gold. Getting this vacuum cleaner up to this point was quite a journey. I had to keep coming back to it and replacing parts, and then I had to rebuild the motor, and it was a big project, but it's been worth it. As a canister, this machine is very versatile. You can clean a room top to bottom with it. You can also do extra things like wet pickup that most normal vacuums can't. And if you're willing to put up with the extra maintenance that comes with the water basin, as in filling it up, dumping it out, cleaning it out, letting it dry, and keeping the separator underneath the motor clean, then I think you'll be really happy with it. These vacuums are very powerful. This thing does an excellent job on carpet, especially for a canister. It really vibrates the carpeting, which surprised me. And yeah, I really like the machine. Rainbows have actually kind of caught me off guard. I never thought that I would like them as much as I actually do. So I plan to keep using it. It's really satisfying when you're done to see all the dirt that you've collected in the water basin. And what's cool too is you dump it out and all the dirt is gone. Bagless vacuums will keep at least a little bit of dirt in the cup afterwards, but with this, it's all gone, which is great. So these are really neat vacuums. If you can get a good deal on one and give it a good tune-up, I think you'll be happy with it. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.